Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Victor. He's Jack. What's in your mind?
Okay, today I want to talk about the type of thinking that we need to have in order to crush the system and come forward and make a new system that has the focus of the people, not the capital, not the state, as in capitalism, communism, but the focus is on the people.
Okay.
So what kind of thinking do you need? And let's talk about the different types of thinking you could have.
Okay.
Okay. So we're talking about like conservatism.
Okay.
And we're not talking about like, are you a conservative? We're talking about what does it mean to think conservatively?
Okay.
So when you think conservatively, you're trying to conserve.
Right.
You're trying to keep what is.
What you have, right.
And so we live in a society that is fully progressive.
Okay.
So my argument is, and I'm not talking bad about like you, if you have conservative values, because you're just saying, I got these good traditional values and I'm a fan of a lot of traditional values. But I'm talking about if you think conservatively. So if you think conservatively, you want to conserve a progressive society.
Okay.
Therefore, you're a progressive. But you're not, because you have conservative values. So you're not a progressive, but you're mistakenly thinking in terms of conservation when you live in a progressive society.
Okay.
So I'm encouraging, if you have conservative values, to keep those conservative values, because a lot of traditional values I agree with, but I'm telling you, for your political thinking, you can't think in a conservationist manner.
Okay.
So if you think, say you want to think progressively, then you want society to progress to something new because what's traditional doesn't work.
Right. Okay.
I'm a fan of, say, the nuclear family, just a core traditional value. I'm a fan of it. Two parents raising your kids, all the things, I don't need to list them. So I'm just going to throw out progressive thinking right there.
Okay.
I don't want to be retarded in the sense of retarding back to terrible ideas, but I want to, I almost said conserve. That's funny. I don't want to progress past traditional values and disband those values.
Okay.
Because traditional values are what works. We know what works. It's easy. All the new things don't work.
Right.
All the new things. So let's forget progressive. Okay, now let's get down to the good ones. Okay. So there's this guy. He's on YouTube. I'm not going to name him, but he introduced himself as a counter-revolutionary.
Okay.
Okay. A counter-revolutionary is a reactionary. Somebody else is a revolutionary and you're a counter-revolutionary. That means you're a reactionary.
Okay.
I'm going to try to dissuade you from having a reactionary political thinking. Because the problem is that a progressive will come along and say, hey, we need to take away this right. We need to take away gun rights in order to preserve the lives of all humanity and stop climate change. And you say as a reactionary, whoa, don't take my guns. Let's stop this. Let's form a movement to stop this. No, but I don't want you to be reacting. I want you to have a movement in place already to secure gun rights forever if that's your thing. I like people being safe and smart and educated, But so I'm against, what do you think about this? I'm against reactionary political thinking.
Yeah. Hopefully this helps. I've always pictured like the word progressive is progress, which, is movement, as you said. But there's just that wording makes it seem like, well, don't you want to progress?
Right.
And there's an implication that you're improving and that type of thing, but there's a movement. And conserving, like you're saying, is not moving. I picture it as tug of war, where one team is pulling as hard as they can the other direction, and the conservative is just trying to keep what they have, and they just keep letting rope out.
Right.
We want them to turn around and start pulling the other direction.
Right.
Or, I mean, that's what's needed is that, like you're saying, that's their movement is always going towards their what they think is ideal instead of just holding on to what's left.
Right. And so in this example, the conservative is acting in a reactionary manner, and the progressive is not. They're talking in a different manner. We'll get to that in a second,
Okay.
And then the next type you could be a reformer. Okay. So As we go along, we're getting better and better ideas of thinking here.
Okay.
Because a reformer is going out and actively doing things within the current system to make it better. So that's the conservatives getting together and trying to reform gun control laws to give people more liberty in their gun access as per the Second Amendment, as opposed to just reacting to what the other side is doing on the gun measures. So when it comes to reforming, what do you think about reforming the current system?
I don't feel like it can be reformed.
Yeah, it's absolutely impossible.
It's a complete loss.
And this is a conclusion that you have to come to.
Right.
Like, you have to go through enough elections that you have no faith in what happened. You have no faith in the candidates putting forward being the real candidates. I don't even care what side you're putting on. You could be on the populist left right now, and you could say 2 presidential elections in a row, the DNC screwed Bernie Sanders out of the nomination. You could be on the right and think some other things which you're not allowed to talk about, but there's video evidence of. But whatever your side, there's no solution within the system. I'm going to pin that video in our system series. And you have to come to that conclusion, though. Once you come to that conclusion, you can admit that being a reformist thinking is not the way to go. It's not the solution.
Right.
Now, I'm totally for you working on the local level for reform, for temporary change, so that the lives of your children today are better than they were yesterday. So reformist thinking is not the worst.
Well, when we're talking about the system, it's usually federal level.
Yeah, we're talking macro, not micro. But I'm saying on the micro, go ahead and do some reforming. Go ahead and do some reactionary. Go ahead and do it all.
Get into your schools and change what they're, all that kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
if it's better for your kid tomorrow, then I'm all for it. And my kids, for goodness sakes. Okay, so then we're going to get to the highest level of thinking, which is where I'm trying to urge you to. And this is revolutionary thinking. Okay, so originally, the American Revolution started as reactionary.
Okay, like taxation without representation.
Right. They were reacting to things they didn't like, the stamp tax, things that were going on to them. Then they did the Boston Tea Party. They reacted to the Boston Massacre, right? But at one point, they said, hey, we need to stop reacting, even though what they're going to do is a reaction. But we need to do something that changes everything. We need to flip it over to something new. And if you admit that there's no way of reforming the system as it is, except for on the micro scale, then I need you to get to a revolutionary way of thinking. I don't need you to think about repealing constitutional amendments. I want you to think about throwing that Constitution in the trash. I know that's sacrilege. And writing a new one that's even better for our time, for our values, for our people, for our country, right? Yeah. And to do that, you can only do that if you have a revolutionary mindset. Because I need you to get out of the box, and I need you to think with us outside of the box at what could be. Let's get back to some utopian thinking. We can never create a true utopia, but we can get way closer to it than we are now. We can get miles down the road.
Sure.
And it's like Thomas Jefferson said, we need a revolution every 20 years.
Right.
Because that's how long it takes. But let's get 20 years of bliss. Let's get past this system and get 20 years of bliss. Let's get 30 years of semi-good. Let's get 50 years after that of mediocrity. Because right now we're going down a hill. You know,
there's no bliss and no mediocrity.
Right.
There's nothing.
We've said it before. The system doesn't skew left. It doesn't skew right. It skews down.
Right.
It just gets worse and worse. The inflation gets higher. It gets worse for your individual way of life every day. But the only way, except for reforming on the micro level, that we can get to where we want to be, and this is the whole point of my video, is you have to have a revolutionary mindset. If you can do that, we can think about the future. We can think about, if you're just stuck on reforming, the system's never going to fall. The Federal Reserve will always be.
Yes.
Federal income tax will always be.
They'll give you a little bit here and there to make you think that, you know, there is two sides and that type of thing, but they're never giving up their power. There's too much in place for them to, you know, we lost a vote or whatever, and now we're going to all go home. And no, it's...
Right. And when I say revolutionary, I'm not talking about acts of violence at the moment.
Right.
I'm not. I'm talking about a way of thinking.
Right.
A way of protesting, a way of boycotting. There's a whole variety of things that are peaceful that fall within that.
Sure.
And eventually those things could lead to violence, which I do not advocate. I'm not advocating for now. But later on, when you say, hey, this system has happened, and now Boston Massacre Part 2 has happened, ask me again what I think about violence. And I'll tell you, but I'm not talking about that now.
Right.
I'm talking about changing your way of thinking, elevating it, getting past conserving, getting past progressing, getting past being reactionary. Think about big picture. If you're reactionary, you're in the short term. And still, don't let them take your guns, because that's going to hurt the long term.
Right.
And then getting past reforming by admitting that the system cannot be reformed from within. It won't allow itself. You could vote harder all you want.
Yeah.
But you got to think revolutionary. What do you think about this? That's my whole pitch. What do you think?
No, I'm totally with you. And it's, besides, I've never been identified with like the progressive movement of things. But if you were to track my thinking, that you've described how my thinking has changed over the years. And, because you get, you start conservative and you think you can change things. And at some point you get to the point where you realize you can't change. And I agree with you 100%.
Yeah. And so I want you to just challenge you this. If you say, I'm already there, Jack, I'm already there. Okay, cool. I want you to start identifying as a revolutionary.
Okay.
Like if somebody says, hey, so you're a fellow conservative? I'm a revolutionary. What? That's where I want you to be, like that dedicated and focused, so that, I think even if you say that you're a revolutionary, you're not even willing to say that word out loud in reference to yourself.
Okay.
Boy, be a bold revolutionary. For goodness sake, we should make t-shirts. Right. You know what I mean? And sell them for cost. Just spark a conversation. What do you mean? Because there's no way we can reform the system from within. The FBI will literally murder you if you try.
Yeah.
And we... Talking about countless people, the bodies that they've got, or the Clintons or anything. So that's where I'm at. Be a revolutionary.
Wow.
Grow some balls.
Yeah. And to take balls just to make this video. That was really good. Okay. So hopefully that's a good challenge to you guys, no matter where you're at. Even if you're still at the conservative level and you're trying to open your eyes and all that, that's awesome. Just stay on the path. Keep working for it. Keep watching our videos. Hopefully that will help, or find someone else who's trying to progress your thinking and not just stuck in a rut. And hopefully this is enriching your life. We'll see you next time.